evening, I'm going to call to order the August 24th, 2023 regular board meeting of the Center Grove Community School Corporation. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I have a crew here from Maple Grove joining us, so. And I will introduce them and tell you all about them in just a few minutes when we get the spotlight.
Perfect. All right, next up is adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President, I propose that we move 4 and 5, we flip-flop them, so reports will come after recognition and presentations. I also propose that we remove under action items 8.1.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Any questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next up is recognition and presentations. We'll do the CG Spotlight of Maple Grove.
You want everybody to put one?
Yeah.
Is that good? Can we have all? Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
All right, so if my Maple Grove people can join me up here, students, you can come up and stand kind of up front. There you go, you want to face out here. Thank you. And you're going to turn and face this direction. All right, do I stand over here?
Yeah, the mic's pretty hot, so.
Okay, all right. Look at this beautiful group. Well, I'm Brooke Phillips. I'm the principal at Maple Grove, and I'm so excited that tonight is Maple Grove Spotlight at our school board meeting. And so we're going to start with our teacher spotlight first, and our teacher that we're honoring tonight is Allison Smiley. She is one of our kindergarten teachers at Maple Grove and actually has been with Center Grove for 18 years now. I had to do a little bit of digging to figure that out, but 18 years, that's pretty impressive. So what makes Allison so special? Well, she kind of embodies being all in at Maple Grove. She's one of those people that no matter what, you can count on her. So she jumps in as a leader, and she will help whenever it is needed. She will serve on any committee that's needed. She volunteers her time for kindergarten. She teaches Ready, Set, K. She does kindergarten screenings. She will be the first to volunteer to pilot. She's done ESGI and U-Flyer, just a couple of them most recently. She writes grants for her classroom, really just anything to kind of go above and beyond and serve the students in her classroom and in kindergarten at Maple Grove. Last year we had a kind of an unexpected medical leave in kindergarten, and Allison really stepped up as a leader and helped that classroom to make sure that that class was able to stay right up to speed with the rest of kindergarten and not fall behind, and we really appreciated her leadership with that as well. So just want you to know that she has a servant's heart, and we are so thankful to have her at Maple Grove. All right, and for our support staff member spotlight, we could not pick one. So we chose two, but they serve similar roles at Maple Grove. So we have Luciana Alt and Yukio Primus, and they are both our English as a New Language assistants at Maple Grove. And Luciana has been with us for 4 years. Yui has been with Maple Grove for 3 years now in this position for about a year. She also works in our cafeteria, so we were able to win-win and have her in both positions at Maple Grove. So what makes them special? Really, honestly, we couldn't be more fortunate to have them on our team at Maple Grove. Many of their strengths are very similar. They are both very calm women. They are incredibly encouraging, not just to students, but to their colleagues. And they make it a priority to ensure that students feel seen and they're heard and they're getting what they need. They're always willing to help wherever it's needed. They translate sometimes for us with parents. They're easing apprehensions for new anxious students. You may or may not know, we often get students to Maple Grove in the program who are not just new to our school, but that is their very first experience in our country. They may have just moved to the United States, they enroll in school, and we're the first, big group of people that they have met. And so they do such a beautiful job with the rest of our E&L staff of making families just feel seen and welcomed. And they also help with our end of the year walk around the world, and they help ensure that that's a success. So very fortunate to have them at Maple Grove. And now our fantastic crew of students that are standing here. Boys and girls, when I say your name, if you can kind of give a little wave, that would be awesome. So our third graders, we have Annika. We have Emery. We have Sloan. In fourth grade, we have Gage. In fifth grade, we have Anyeza and Zoe. And so we asked our teachers to nominate students who they felt like would be great representatives. And our school-wide theme this year is Keep Shining. And our teachers really felt like these students definitely shine in the way that they demonstrate kindness to one another. Both our essential skills teachers and our general classroom teachers nominated them because they embody compassion and genuine positivity through the friendships that they have formed. The connections they have made, we know they will carry with them throughout their lives, no doubt having lasting impact on how we all have more similarities than differences. I'm so proud of these Maple Grove rock stars.
Hold up, Mrs. Phillips, we got some certificates.
Oh, yay.
For students, and I wasn't quick enough to catch everybody's name.
Can I help you with
You're gonna
that?
have to help me.
I'll help you with that. So this is Annika. I'm gonna, right up here, Miss Annika, that's yours.
Emery?
Emery. Zoe's right here.
Oh.
That fancy folder.
Oh.
This is Anyeza. Here you go, dear.
Gage?
Right in front of you. Sloan's over there.
Process of elimination.
That's right, that's right.
Nice job. Let's get a picture of everybody.
Yes.
Get a little closer here. There you go.
Where are you going? Thank
Thank
you.
you, Maple Grove
Thank you.
Stars.
All right, next up for recognition is the CG 100. Is the CG 100 award. Dr. Arkanoff?
Thank you. This evening, we're going to recognize some staff, and I'd like to ask Amanda Moore to please come up to the podium for us, and she's going to share some great things going on with some of our teachers.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Moore. I'm our district innovation coach, and I have been very fortunate that I get to work with our district elementary tech lab paras. Over the last 2 years, we have been working to integrate more computer science into our tech labs. So that means we're doing more things like coding and robotics, digital citizenship, and basically a lot of fun. And so over the last 2 years, we've been working to integrate more of that with all of our students from kindergarten through 5th grade. And recently, we've been awarded with the CS 100 Award, which is a national award, and we are the only recipients in Indiana. So this award is presented to schools, and luckily we were awarded for our entire district for committing to teach 100% of our elementary students computer science. So I would just like to recognize our Tech Lab paraprofessionals for their hard work in teaching some difficult concepts that a lot of times might seem somewhat daunting or maybe even a little bit intimidating. They do it with ease and with excitement, and they do it in a way that really provides great opportunities for our students here in Center Grove. So congratulations, and thank you so much for your dedication in making wonderful opportunities for our students.
programming languages are we teaching?
In elementary, we're doing block-based coding.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
I'm an IT guy, that's why I was
Oh,
asking.
great. Me too.
Well done. We actually go back and code the classes. All right, couple of housekeeping items for this evening. We need to reconvene our executive session. We had to adjourn it. We have an item or two we need to finish up once the meeting wraps up. So we'll sign things and then reconvene the exec session. Next up is reports. Dr. Arkanoff, or you gonna turn it over to Dr.
Yeah,
Hoover?
we'll turn right over to Dr. Hoover.
All right.
Thank you. She's pulling out a presentation. It's that time of year for our annual review of student performance. Can you hear? Okay. I'm not feeling great, so my voice isn't normal. Maybe that's it. Okay. So I will spend some time going through, this is kind of just the different topics. I want to always run through testing in Indiana and what that means, because every year is not always comparable to every other year. We look at comparative CG data, so how we're doing in the district compared to before, and then we also look at our peer school data, because it's not just about how we're doing, but are we keeping up, stepping ahead or staying static with other groups that we use to compare ourselves with. So just a quick testing changes in Indiana. iStep went to iLearn back in 2019, so that's really the first year of data we have that we can continue to compare to. iStep was different, and it's also caused a shift in how many of our students are proficient, and that's always important to note. Our SAT for all juniors, for all 11th graders, just started in 2022, so this is only our second year of data. Last year it was just that lonely little single piece of data we had. And then finally in iRead, this is the test that has stayed similar across all of these years, so it's probably the best piece of longitudinal data we have. To note, this year I will show you, we tested our second graders. The DOE opened that opportunity last year. We decided to do that this year, and I have some great information to share with you about how we did, not only with third, but also with our second graders. Okay, so I'll just go through the order of our comparative data. So for, these are our iRead 3 scores for this year, and overall across the district, we did go down 0.6%, and we're, of course, not satisfied with that at all. But in that percentage, let me say, we do have some great news. One of our schools reached our 95% goal passing this year. We're really, really proud of that school. Want them to keep that up. But overall, we do have a drop, and we are not satisfied with that. We continue to hone in on effective instruction and remediation practices. Some of the work we're going to do to support student achievement. The first of those is implementing, it's called UFly, the University of Florida Literacy Initiative, and we are it's an explicit, systematic phonics instruction. That was something when we adopted reading last year, there was no reading program that had everything. You had to kind of piece things together. So while we adopted Scholastic last year, and our first year of implementation was last year, we knew we needed phonics. And so we went with this year, and in July we invested in training with UFly experts from Florida. And K through 2 teachers attended a 2-day workshop to prepare for being able to implement that this year. Our instructional coaches also attended, and so they'll be able to continue to support that throughout the buildings. And help to be in continual learning alongside of our teachers. We're really excited about that, and we already have lots of buzz about things the teachers are seeing in their classrooms. Another great thing we did was by testing our second graders. So you'll see we had 66% of our second graders pass, which means Those students will not take that in third grade, and next year, when you see 2024 data, that percentage is already included as passers. It will just be the additional students who take it this year added to that percentage to see where we're at. What that allows us to do is really hone in on the students who did not pass in second grade. And honestly, that just means we have so many kids ahead of grade level, which is phenomenal. But the students, many of those students are on track, so we'll just do what we would have normally done to get them ready and through third grade and prepared. But those kids who were not on track, we'll get to provide very targeted remediation and instruction to support more growth, because that's what they need. And then the other is just that targeting for instruction for that percentage that still needs to pass this year. And we really believe that those things, on top of being in the second year of our new resources, will make the difference to have us trending back upwards towards the 95% goal. For iLearn data, again, when you look at individual grades across all the buildings, the great news is we're starting to see certain grades in buildings popping up over where we're at in 2019. And that loss that we experienced through COVID, we're starting to, in more and more pockets each year, see kids increase and meet where we were at and even go above that. But we still have to have steps in place to support increasing our numbers of students who are achieving proficiency. Again, that U-Fly for those early grade levels. We expect that explicit phonics instructions to have an impact on our students, especially as they matriculate up. The more and more exposure and earlier they had to that will be, in the next few years, we expect to see some big differences, those third, fourth, and fifth graders who've had that early. Also targeting students for remediation, we're creating some very consistent systems across the district to not only support but also measure the intervention efficacy, which we believe will also make a difference. And then finally, utilizing our PLC model. When our teachers collaborate, they use their students' data to provide instruction to meet those needs. And additionally, colleagues across classrooms and buildings share the strategies that work best. Just like I said, we're seeing those pockets of grade levels in different places in the district. The value of PLC is they're sharing with each other what they did to make those kind of gains, and that's one of the most important parts.
I don't mean to interrupt you. You talk about the pockets of grade levels that you can see an increase. Could you give us an example on this, of that pocket?
Sure. For example, at Maple Grove, they had 2 different grade levels who actually were above where they were at in 2019. So you'll see we had that kind of that COVID dip. We're starting to see those 2 grade levels at Maple Grove. There was a grade level or 2 at Center Grove Elementary that are popping back up over where we were.
And with that, just so I understand, you're saying popping back up, this current third grade class or the third grade class that's now sixth grade?
No, would it be comparing those third graders to these third graders?
Okay, the new class of third graders.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you,
Nope. Not perfect data, because every year in each of those grades, we know we're testing completely different kids, unless we run through it looking at it as a stair step.
which is kind of the way I'm looking at it
Yeah,
right now.
which a lot of, at the building level, they do that a lot, particularly when they're doing their school improvement plans. They'll look at data that way too, to see what kind of gains they're making, or where kids aren't making the gains they need. And that's just a little preview. We'll do school improvement plans next month. So, thank you for asking that question. And then our SAT data. So knowing that SAT is only one of the options in that third bucket that we call it for meeting graduation requirements, every kid that we can get to cross that finish line with this test is great, but we also know that's not going to happen for all kids, so we continue to create and enhance those opportunities for students to meet this requirement with all the other pathways. And the board has been very not only supportive, but very encouraging to creating those pathways in our district. I know when we bring new course requests each fall, you see more and more of those coming as we open up more pathways here in the district. So we're gonna need that and to continue those opportunities. The next one is looking across iLearn. This is our Johnson County data, and where we, or how we're doing compared to the rest of the county, and also the state average there. Very proud of our school. I know we just want to keep inching more and more toward that trend of getting back to and exceeding where we were at in 2019. And then the last one, we always look at our peer schools, those schools most like us across the whole state in size and demographics. And we continue to stay up in that top part. And honestly, the difference between school number 2 and us is very small. There's not a lot of, we're really tight, running a pretty tight race there right at the top, so.
And Nora, some of the players there, they switched positions, am I right? Like Duneland, Plainfield?
They did. Plainfield had been higher last year also, and Duneland and Valparaiso had moved up, and I know we're already starting to ask questions about what you do, right? What'd you do? What's going on differently?
I need a question about Brownsburg, because their line's always up there, and always pretty strict. So
Yes.
we'd like to know what's going on.
We already know what they're doing.
We know, remember that big conversation we've had about how they choose not to teach certain things that we teach.
Right.
And I appreciate this board's support of saying continually seeking improvement, but also knowing who we are and what we want for our kids, and you're very whole child centered, that one thing shouldn't be put above some of the other important things for kids in their development. And we offer so many opportunities here that you value and support and say, just keep trying to get better.
And I think I've heard you say before, educating the whole child, educating, whatever strengths, whatever weaknesses, trying to not just focus on test scores, but focus on the kind of the holistic approach.
Yeah.
If I misstated it, I'm not trying to.
No, you're right. And just like, especially as they get to high school with all these alternate paths to graduation in that third bucket, I'm excited to see more and more what kids are able to do the minute they walk out our door. Lots are going to continue to go to four-year colleges, two-year trade schools, but there are so many kids that are going out right now and getting really good jobs. And we're even looking at some more things to bring this year to increase the number of those programs we have.
I asked the question about, trying to track a third grade class, trying to track, all the way through eighth. Is that a table in the future we could see, just so that we could see if,
Like year over year.
each year, if that, because a couple of these, if I'm looking at it right, looks like there may have been a significant dip from, for instance, I'm on page 6, from 2022 into 2023, from like 6th to 7th grade. Now, I know it could be the test was harder, it could be a lot of different things, but just kind of to track not only how each third grade class, but just if we can see anomalies, things that.
Yeah, and I would say the schools are doing that just because they're just get that more micro level of data.
Right.
They're looking at that, but you also, when you look at how 5th graders to 6th graders compare, that state average is way different.
Oh, that's a good point.
So-
As every year, unfortunately, fewer and fewer kids are at proficiency. That's not okay,
All right,
but it's just trying to recognize who they are and having the right instruction for them.
So when I look at that trend on slide 6, and obviously this is a problem across the state, as you can see the data.
Yeah.
From 3rd grade to 8th grade, there's a significant dip in the percentage there. Has there been any study or work on that, even at a state level, as to why there's such a drop-off between 3rd and 8th grade in terms of passing rates?
I'm not aware of like a study I could point to from the state. I know,
Do we have
With
any
that-
idea as to the,
I would say, back when I first got in the business here, and I was at the middle school, we were achieving year after year after year, 90% of our kids passing this test. when it was I-STEP. There was a little change to the test, if you don't need to go back, but on the slide, I think in like 2014, the test changed a little, and we got into the 80s, slowly getting back up to 90s. There's a big difference in our standards from 2019 and this test that we now use with iLearn. It's not easy at any grade level, and it just keeps getting harder and harder. The math that we're asking our students to do, and it's not the wrong thing to do, it's just, it's
Okay.
very, very rigorous.
Test is written differently every year, right?
There's,
Format stays, but.
the format stays, the
content-
questions are different, yes, because the state uses a vendor that vets the questions, and it should be pretty consistent from year to year.
Should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a test maker, so I can't really
Yeah.
know that, but, there are, short of asking the same questions year after year,
Which wouldn't be helpful.
which would be helpful.
No.
You just have to assume some of those norms are in place, just like with the SAT, has the same features. It is it's not a norms test, it's a criterion test, so it's meeting a standard instead of seeing how kids fall.
Not a bill.
Correct.
So,
And- Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, what is the percentage we're gonna be happy with?
100.
Well,
Correct.
we were all at 100. What is a realistic percentage that we should be hitting?
I honestly just want to see us increasing those numbers every year until we
Right.
get to the point where we feel like we are really getting all kids there. I mean, obviously, even when you pointed to Brownsburg, they have over 30 percentage points also to get to all.
Right.
So this is a multi-year, decades, work to do. And it really goes back to No Child Left Behind, when we were to keep getting that percentage closer and closer every year, right? And states didn't just get kids there. But I'm okay having lofty goals to reach too, also, so. The nice thing is with the different graduation pathways at the high school, if we can continue to keep kids tracking toward being proficient and getting them a little closer to that every year, and they get to high school, and we do have all these great options, and a lot of them are very high interest for kids. They can meet those pathways often in, they get their academic requirements, and then they get to really get into those courses that they love. And so those pathways to careers as well as college are setting kids up to have those really high quality of life after high school that we want for them.
And then on the iRead data, I mean, obviously I'm fundamentally concerned about the steady drop in 2021, 22, and 23. Are we gonna be allowed to continue to test the second graders moving forward? Is that gonna be now an every year thing, or is this just the state allowed us to do it, trying to base on where we were coming out of COVID?
I assume that they'll want to continue doing this.
Okay.
The year before, we opted not to. Honestly, part of it was timing, and it was a decision when we had that choice. We hadn't even had a chance to have a discussions
Okay.
with our teachers before we could have to say yes or no. So we ended up not. Seeing the data this year, though, I'm being pretty excited about how well our second graders did, and knowing then the impact on what we can do for those kids who aren't there yet.
I'm more excited about that than anything else, and being able to test the second graders. I mean, you've put a goal of 95% in for the third grade. Have we established a goal for the second grade at this point, or are we still?
No,
No.
we haven't.
I would almost rather not have one, to be honest, because
Since it's not a
it's a
have-to
practice
situation.
test.
Well, don't have any problems with that either. I was just asking. I didn't.
And you have to remember that percent that's left, we get scores back for the second graders, and they either passed,
Right.
they're on track, or they're not. And so of that percentage that didn't pass, lots and lots of those kids, a high percent of those are on track to pass already. So we just need to do whatever we were gonna do in third grade, and they'll get there. Because we see that we do well with just what we've been
Right.
doing every year. we'll really get to hone in on those kids who aren't on track, who need something extra. They need to grow more than a grade level this year to be able to pass. Our kids who are maybe in a special program, non-English language speakers, or our special education students, that we can have a lot better data to see what we need to do to get them there.
Those iRead tests, are they the same for both second and third grade, or are they?
Well, hopefully with the second graders taking it now, we'll see a bump in the third grade, because the second grade's almost a practice test, and they've done it before.
And then we can see where the gap is.
They've already counted.
Yeah, they already count, that percentage.
Those kids don't have to take it.
They don't take it again in third grade.
I missed that.
Yeah, they're done.
But the
Who
34%,
doesn't want to check that off?
but the 34% that practiced,
That practice, yes.
they've
Right.
taken it once.
And there is a lot of value to preview.
Yeah.
We all know that. Seeing what that, I can't imagine taking an SAT for the first time and not knowing what that was gonna look like. So,
As a third grader.
yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I would just like to compliment, I appreciate that your statement of, we educate the whole student, not just, that one thing about them. We want them to graduate as rounded, educated students, so I appreciate that.
Thanks. And I appreciate the DOE now has it, the graduates prepared to see the dashboard, and it does include more data than that. It has attendance on there, because just showing up every day means something, right?
Yeah.
And or testing scores, but then it also has, we're gonna be able to start tracking some of those employability skills too, because it is about more than just being able to take tests. And the dashboard will show where we're at on all of those different measures too. And that also is a hint to my action item for later.
Very good. All right,
Thank you, Dr. Hoover.
all right. Next up, public comments, and I'm assuming we have none? Wonderful. Next up is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. I'll ask Dr. Taylor to introduce to you some of our folks today.
Got two administrative appointments that the board just approved, and we're proud to introduce them. Mr. Craig Buckler's here from Center Grove Elementary. I'll give him the honors if you'd like. And, he needed something else to work on tonight.
I'm pleased to share with everyone, this is Mrs. Elise Johnson. She's going to be joining us as the new assistant principal at Center Grove Elementary, and she will start a week from Tuesday. We're super excited for that time to come.
Olivia Prest, oh,
Do you have someone with you?
yeah, go ahead.
I do have somebody with me, and I dragged him along. This is my husband, Tristan.
Welcome.
So he will be at all the PTO events, give my walk, he'll do all of that.
All right.
So, we're very excited to join the Center Grove family. So,
Welcome.
thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
And then I'm also pleased to recognize Olivia Preston. She'll stand up. Olivia is going to be our new dean at Middle School Central. She's been working as a social studies teacher for us. She's starting her 10th year with Center Grove Schools. We're just going to be more excited to have her, and she has a familiar face with her too that I'll let her introduce. But just welcome her. Thank you. Thank you.
Is that it, Dr. Kelly?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Next up, under action items, we, as you noticed earlier, we took the multipurpose facility off the agenda. We have some logistical things we need to get resolved, and plan to put that back on the agenda next month. So we will work to get those issues resolved. Next up is 8.2 Employability Skills Survey. Dr. Arkanoff.
Thank you. This evening, I'm recommending that the board approve the employability skills survey, and Dr. Hoover will provide you with some additional information.
Okay, thank you. Teaching employability skills is legislatively mandated in Indiana. These are skills for mindset, learning strategies, and work ethic. And those are mostly developed in the classroom setting. There's also social emotional skills that are taught explicitly by our SEL counselors in K through 5 and during homeroom for middle school and small groups for high school, as well as reinforced by our classroom teachers. As the graduates prepare to succeed, GPS initiative requires schools to teach and monitor employability skills. We need to collect data to ensure that our schools are being responsive to the needs of our students and measuring these indicators, in addition to providing an opportunity for student voice. Center Grove will no longer be partnering with Panorama. Therefore, all assessments will be given via Google Forms and is accessible only by Center Grove staff. More importantly, this process keeps our student level data local and provides an avenue to show proficiency for the state GPS dashboard skills. Our schools will offer an opt-out choice if approved. On Monday, August 28th, families would receive district communication that provides information about the employability skills assessments, including the student questions that will be available to them, and explain the process for opting out. Parents would submit opt-out requests via a Google form by Friday the 8th of September in order to opt their child out. Additionally, all of our student questions will be available online for parents to preview. Grade level data will be used to formulate school-wide support from the counseling department, in addition to providing anticipated state-required proficiency. Student level data will be used for students who may need additional support in Tier 1 or Tier 2. And as always, if students get those additional supports, that would require parent notification or permission. So I'm requesting that, and I know you've seen a sample of the questions, that you would approve those surveys and assessments for our students.
Do we feel confident this year we have the mechanisms in place for those parents who opted out? We have that pretty tight.
Mm-hmm. It'd actually be a little bit easier because it's our own system.
I was excited to hear that, by the way.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Panorama, as I stated last year.
We will be doing all that in-house. You approved as the board last year when we did textbook adoption, the Really Bill program for our middle schools. Our teachers are loving that, by the way. They're doing that in their homeroom classes and then Connect. And I was able to sit in and see that happening in a classroom, and it's some really great videos, teacher conversations with students, and those actually come with their own assessments embedded that we'll also give via Google form, but it's part of the curriculum.
Mr. Armstrong.
Ms. Hoover, I love that you went local. I love that you give 10 days for the parents to opt out this year. And I went through every question. And I appreciate the transparency and everything. And again, it's a DOE mandated thing, but I think we're doing the right things by keeping it local. So thank you for your transparency.
Since we're doing it in-house, and I'm sure Mrs. Conrad will make sure of this, the opt-out needs to be very simple, very easy. And then the notification to the teachers has to be in such a way, because I know that was a problem where they didn't quite read it right or get it right. The students got the survey that we're supposed to. So I'm sure in-house we'll be able to correct those two areas.
Yes, and the opt-out is really easy, and it's good for, there's two assessments. There's a fall and a spring, and when you opt out, it's for the whole year.
So you
only have to do it one time. Correct.
Can a parent, just made me think of this, they opt out in the fall, find out it's a good survey, decide to come back?
Yes, that would be an email, but they would email probably Chrissy Berger, the Director of School Counseling and Mental Health, and we could get them back on the list to take it if they wanted.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the employability skills survey as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, we have some announcements. September 4th, Labor Day, no school. Didn't we just start? September 21st, we have an executive session, begins at 5 p.m. Here at the ESC, followed by a regular board meeting. And that same evening, we will have our third Good for the Grove work session immediately following the board meeting. Next up is board member superintendent comments. Dr. Hoover, I believe there is an award and a trophy down here.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Oh.
Hi.
So last year, Imagination Library Johnson County, who funds the Dolly Parton project here for our schools, they have never been able to offer that to the 2 Greenwood zip codes because it would have doubled the expense because it's just we're so densely populated. And last year they did some initiatives to be able to do that. And one of those is they had a Read Across America challenge where they asked all the schools to do whether dress up days or funny sock day or whatever, and have kids donate $1. And by doing that, really helped them to get that going. And our school was awarded the trophy for this year for having the highest participation in the county. So I think Scott said earlier, we'll just need to leave that stay here.
Yeah.
I guess we can put that in the superintendent's conference room so you can see it.
There you go.
That'll work.
Awesome.
Should we hold it up and do one?
Yes.
It's a big trophy.
It is. It is, yes. I think they're going to promote it more and a little more competition, so we're going to have to hang on to it.
All right, I'll let you talk about that last.
Okay.
Mr. Russell, any comments or updates, sir?
Just with Alumni and Friends, we're working on a couple of things. One of them is the project of digitizing the yearbooks. We're just getting started on that project, but once done, it'll be a great access or asset and be accessible to everyone. Because right now, all our yearbooks are in the library, and we have a bunch down here in the basement. And it's been wonderful. CG graduates have been donating items and things like that. So it's a project just beginning, and we're working again on the Alumni Hall of Fame. Many moving parts to get to that final thing there. Did I miss anything, Mrs. Rako? So,
Cool.
we're busy.
Mrs. Counts? Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, Mrs. Hoover, I'm excited about 66% already in the second grade passing. And I think we're going to improve, but there's a lot of reasons. You guys ask on other things, but all I know is being a seventh grade teacher for 43 years, I could talk about testing for about 5 hours. But reading's important, and I feel good that we're taking the steps to show the improvements. I really was excited about some of the scores there and everything.
Nothing this evening for me. Thank you.
The last 2 Johnson County Redevelopment Commission meetings, the August meeting was canceled, and then I just received word today that the September meeting has been canceled, so there's nothing new going on with the Johnson County Redevelopment Commission. I hear, I'm sorry, the July meeting was canceled, the August meeting was canceled. We'll have a meeting again in September. There's a couple new projects on the horizon. Sorry, I had the months backwards.
That's no problem.
Dr. Arkanoff?
Thank you. Well, let's end on a high note tonight. We were recognized by the United Way of Johnson County for the most outstanding employee campaign in the education division during the 22-23 campaign. So fantastic work. We've got great staff that are very giving to our community. Love our partnership with United Way. Special thank you to Stacy Conrad, who oversees that and works with all of our folks in each building to put together a great campaign. So congratulations, Center Grove, for that. And we are told by the executive director that we're their best group in raising money. So that
They
makes me
were at
happy.
Fast Track, which they supply the things for the Fast Track backpacks, and they were very complimentary all day.
Awesome.
The amount of volunteers we get, it's phenomenal how that program works. But because of them's how we can do it.
That's right.
Just a reminder, we need to reconvene the executive session when we're done. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn.